There is like at the end, and I was like, oh no, I don't know if I want to read this series anymore. Hi guys, and welcome to 2018. It has been 2 months since I filmed this video. We're in Snow White here, if you can't tell. But I filmed the end of Bookmas, and I misjudged my timing at Bookmas so badly. I filmed 2 more videos. I did like books I wanted to read in 2018 and my favorite books of 2017, I believe. And I did not put up either of them. I did not edit either of them. I just didn't have time. And the day after Christmas, I was moving, so I really didn't have time. And then I got caught up in my move, really. I took a whole month of January off. It is February now, and I'm finally sitting down to film. My filming room is still a mess. I do not have bookcases anymore. We will be building some, but it might be like a year or later on. I have a bunch of books in here that are just like books I didn't want to get bent or ruined in the move. And well, I did put them in boxes initially and I pulled them out. Or books I wanted to read. And I think I pulled like 60-ish books because I read 60-ish books last year, which leads me into my favorites of last year. So my 2017 favorites, let's start with number 1. My first favorite was The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. This wasn't my initial favorite book I've ever read or anything by any means. It's not one of my favorite books I've ever read, but it was definitely top 10 of last year out of the 60 I read. It is a good book. It's not a feel-good book, let's put it that way. It is truthful and is honest about history and its past. I think there are better nonfiction books from this era that I like more, but it is a very good story. I like the main character a lot. Liesel, I think is her name. Yeah, Liesel, and yeah, it's a really good book. It's a bit awkwardly written because I couldn't get into it the first few times I tried to read it, but then once you get into it, it's like the first 100 pages. It's a long book. It is not a concisely written book, let's just say that. But after the first 100 pages, it gets really good, and you want to know what happens to little Liesel, and it's a good book. Good historical. The next one I do not have, and it is Midnight Jewel by Rochelle Mead. There's 2 books in the series, but the second story is my favorite story, and apparently she's writing a third story from a third girl's perspective, I believe. But I love Rochelle Mead. She's one of my favorite authors of all time, so I had to add in her book. It is a story about a young girl, or girls, who enter this glittering court and are brought to a new world to marry men who have made it wealthy, basically. And it's basically to make them climb the social classes in a world that exists that they cannot climb social classes. But the second story is much more adventurous. The girl is much more my kind of attitude, I guess you would say. And yeah, she's got a really good story to tell on that one. The third book I don't own, but it is Dragonfly and Amber by Diana Gabaldon. This is Voyager, the third in the series. I discovered Outlander this year, and it's amazing. It is really amazing. It's a romantic read. It is an adventurous read. It is so good. It's historical. I love historical, and I can't believe I hadn't found this before, but it's a good series. Check it out. Outlander is like at the end, and I was like, oh no, I don't know if I want to read this series anymore. But the second and third books, go for it. You'll love them. Pick them up. They're good. Hugely popular on YouTube. I don't need to say more. Watch the stars. Read them and watch them both. Yeah, they're so good. And then Winter. So I have Cinder right here. Winter's right here. Let me just hold up Cinder for you though. Cinder, the Lunar Chronicles, is a Cinderella retelling. Love the series. I read this book actually in 2016, not 17, but I read Winter and the 3 others in 2017. And I have not read this last one, The Fairest, so I'm gonna be checking that one out hopefully this year. But yeah, love these stories, love these retellings. They're done really, really well. I've talked about them a lot this year, so I kind of don't want to go on and on about them. But they're Cinderella retellings, a Red Riding Hood retelling, a Rapunzel retelling, and then Beauty and the Beast retelling, and the last one, Winter, is like them all combined, and it is my favorite of all the series, probably because it's like they're all combined and all their stories and how they tied together. They're really good. The world she created is really good. It's a bit of a dystopian world, and yeah, they're really good. Check them out. This one I do not own. It is a nonfiction. It is When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Cantilini. I can never pronounce his last name. Best book I read this year, writing style wise. It is the best written book I read this year. It is really good. It is nonfiction. It is about a neurosurgeon in the end of his life. He gets diagnosed with cancer and he ends up dying before his memoir is even finished. But he's just a really good writer. He's gifted at writing. He had like a conflict in his life on whether to be a doctor or a writer. He loved both of them. Turns out he was really good at both. So it is the best nonfiction I read, but it is the best writing I read all year. It is so concise and written really beautifully. So definitely check that one out. Replica by Lauren Oliver. I read the second one, and Replica like shocked me more. I love Lauren Oliver's stories. The one that always stuck out before for me was Panic, but Replica was really good. I think it was some of her best writing she's ever done. The second story was okay. I really liked it, but not as much as the original one. The original was really good. It's about two girls' stories. One of them is a clone and lives on an island, and she has a completely different perspective on life. And then you read the other girl's story, who's like a normal teenager, and how her story ties in to this girl as like grown up on an island her whole life. They're both like, it's like the same story back to back, but they're really good. The second book is different. It's every other chapter you read from a different girl's perspective, and the story is like accumulating as you go on. So it's a little bit more normal of a book, but I preferred the first one. I read them both. I love them. Check them out. She's an awesome teen writer. If you're into YA, they're really, really, really good. The next one was my favorite retelling I read this year, and it was Hunted by Megan Spooner. And I think I have 12 total. Sorry, I don't know if I mentioned that in the beginning. It is so good. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It does have romance in it, but I love what the girl finds out about herself. It's more of like a self-discovery to me in a way, but it's really good. It is the best retelling I read. The writing is good. Yeah, definitely check it out. Sisterhood Everlasting by Anne Brashers. If you are a Sisterhood fan, read this book. I was shocked by how much I liked it because I didn't like another book she wrote. But I love this story. I love these girls. I read about these girls when I was a teen. Their movie came out when I was like I think in like the end of high school it came out or something like that. Yeah, so love this story. Love this story. And it's about these girls 10 years later, so it kind of fits in with my life a bit. It's been 12 years, I guess, for me actually. But really, really good. If you want to know what happened to them, check this story out. It's really good. A little bit sad. But it's really, really good. And it is a Handmade Tale by Margaret Atwood. Good book. One of the best TV series produced this year. The TV series added a little to the book because the book is so short and concise. And obviously they're going to add a lot because she did not write a second book to it. But really good writing. It's a dystopian. I love it. Read the book. It's just as good as the TV show. And you don't necessarily have to read the book, I guess, but it's good. It's one of the best. It is up there with some of the best writing I read all year. Definitely. It used to like lull me to sleep, which is kind of weird. You would think that's a boring book, but it was just written so soothingly. I'd kind of go to bed, but it was well written really, really well. And it's so clear. You picture it a lot. Like how, you know, when like you see a movie and stuff, you're like, whoa, this is what this looked like. I didn't ever fully picture this, but you picture it pretty dang well. She's very good at like describing the surroundings and everything, and she's just a good writer, period. And so I can't wait to read more of her novels this year. Fist & Fury by Sarah J. Maas is a really good fantasy book. I didn't like the first one. The Court of Thorns and Roses I read first, and I didn't like it, but it turns out she's like with the wrong guy. A little bit of spoiler alert there. I'm sorry, but go on and read the second one. It is a new adult fantasy book, and it starts out, it's like a bit of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and then it kind of goes off from there. It's not really retellings after that, but really good fantasy, romance, new adult. If you're into that, check them out. They're written really well. I can't wait to read the third book. The third book came out in 2017, but I didn't get to read it, so it's on my list for 2018, definitely. My last two books, I would say, are my favorites of this year, definitely. And you've heard me rant and rave about both of them. One is historical romance, which I am big on. And it is The Orphan's Tale by Pam Jenoff. It is a historical romance book. It's about two girls in World War II, and they join a circus. It is beautiful and lovely, and romance hits in there, of course. There's two romances, but it's more about both of the girls' journeys and both of the girls' friendship more than anything. I loved it, and it is my new favorite book from her, probably. It's done really well. Well, I don't know. The Confidants Girl is so good. Read all her books. I recommend them all. But yeah, I'm so glad she came out with this one this year. I loved it. It's really good. Buy it, put it on your shelf, and read it. The next one, I literally gave and recommended to everyone. This is one of those books that you can read, give to anybody. It is fiction. It is written so well. It is funny. It is so hard to give people books because you look at them and you think this is what you do in your life and blah, blah, blah. This is what you'd be interested in and stuff. Or they tell you what they're interested in. So everybody's a little bit different to what I recommend. But honestly, I recommended this one to everybody. Everybody. And it is a man called Ouvra. I think in the audiobook, that's what he said. And in the movie, but I call it Ove because I'm an American. I believe this is a Swedish-based book, but it is about a man towards the end of his life. He has lost his wife, and it deals with very heart-wrenching things and serious problems, but in a lighthearted manner way. And it reminds you of people. If you have anybody stubborn in your life, it'll remind you of them. It is so good. Some of the best writing I wrote. It is not the best writing I read, but it is so good. It is up there. It's a big computer. Definitely check this one out. My favorite of 2017. I can't wait to see what I'm reading in 2018. I know it's a month in, but I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm about like 10 books deep halfway through, and I really need to start finishing books. I just haven't had time, and I've been scared and been like, if I focus on a book, then I won't finish these projects around my house. There's a lot of them still, and I know I've been moving for a month. And I moved like 12 times before this, so you think I'd be pretty dang good at it, but apparently not this time. It's been a slow one. Sorry I didn't post in the last month, but yeah, I'm back. And I have some exciting February romance books coming up, and an exciting vlog too that I hope you enjoy. So yeah, definitely we'll find out what happens this year. I'm definitely, I think, going to focus more on books this year. But then again, my life isn't all about books. So there'll definitely be some more come shop with me's, I'm sure. And I think I'm going to do a homeware haul for my new house because I thought I had everything I ever needed in my last houses. And then you move into a new home and there's like just things you end up needing or wanting or whatever for your new home. So yeah. I probably won't be doing a home tour, so don't ask for that, but you'll see bits of my home, trust me. And yeah, I'll see you through 2018. And I'm so excited for 2018. It's been a really good year so far. Bye.